Leticia James is starting brand new lawfare against Donald Trump, ready to sue over his most recent pause on federal funding. Does Leticia James have a right to welfare? Does she have a right? I mean, Trump has immunity as president, so I don't know where this is going. Welcome to the Doug TenNapel channel. This is where the happy patriots are. As we watch miserable Democrat and scam artists like Leticia James just try her lawfare again. She needs to be relevant again, needs some attention. Let's watch this real quick, get you all caught up.
Not only does this administration's new policy put people at risk, but it is plainly unconstitutional. The president does not get to decide which laws to enforce and for whom. When Congress dedicates funding for a program, the president cannot pull that funding on a whim. Later today, I am leading and joining with my colleagues, my fellow Democratic attorney generals, in suing this administration to stop this illegal freeze of essential funds for our state. We will not stand for any illegal policy that puts essential services for millions of Americans at risk.
By the way, it does not, Trump, they have a carve out already for all the essential funds, Social Security, Medicaid, anything like that. Anything essential was not frozen. So even the freeze, the spending freeze, it's like all the woke stuff that got closed down. So she's kind of doing some scare tactics here, but also that we need to try to save. It's $2 billion a day, $1.5 to $2 billion a day is the only way that we can keep from going bankrupt, because we're spending it, going into debt, $1 trillion every 100 days.
And we work tirelessly overnight to ensure that that does not happen. Our lawsuit will seek a court order to immediately stop the enforcement of the OMB policy and to preserve essential funding for Americans.
Essential funding like trans surgeries for prisoners. Whatever she thinks is essential, guys, it's trivial. Let me read the article real quick. Okay, here we are over at Newsweek. Leticia James announces new lawsuit against the Trump administration. Imagine that. I didn't see that coming. A lawsuit from Leticia James? It's like their favorite hobby. New York Attorney General Leticia James announced a new imminent lawsuit against the Trump administration on Tuesday regarding the freezing of federal grant programs. Newsweek reached out to the White House via email on Tuesday for a comment. That's today. Why it matters. James has a history, that's one way of putting it, of challenging President Donald Trump. How about she has a history of suing him and trying to take all of his properties? She went for Trump Tower in a made-up, trumped-up lawsuit, most notably by leading the lawsuit against his company for allegedly misleading insurers and banks by overvaluing assets ahead of the 2024 presidential election campaign, which, by the way, all the judges said he did nothing out of the ordinary upon appeal. On Monday, James posted to X, formerly Twitter, regarding a report by the Washington Post that the Trump administration paused all federal grants. Now, they've since clarified that. And Caroline Leavitt clarified that in her press conference. Quote, this administration's pause on federal funding is reckless and dangerous. No, it's not, Leticia James wrote. Quote, programs in communities across the entire nation depend on the funding to support our families, and this action is only going to hurt them. Now, this is a first challenge, is the government is not here to fund and support families. The government is not, the number one responsibility of the government, as it's been spelled out in the Constitution, is not to fund my family. That is, the government's primary responsibility is not to give me food, give me a house, give me a job, give me health. That is not in there. Now, that's how the Democrats see it. They say you have a right to health care, right? That's what the debate and the argument is over. Do you have a right to say the government owes me health care? The government owes me a minimum wage, a minimum payment. I mean, a monthly payment just for me showing up in life. I don't have to pay for my house. The government does. I don't believe even the government has to pay for your schooling, like your education. It should be optional. The government has a selfish benefit to pay for your education, and that might be why they do it. I'm only saying, same way the government might have a selfish benefit to give you a marriage tax write-off or a write-off for having children, because you're creating a factory of little taxpayers. So there's an incentive for the government and the longevity of America to do some of those things. But it's not a right. You don't have a right to have the government pay for your children. Trump's White House Budget Office ordered a temporary freeze on all federal grants and loans in a memo on Monday. The decision could potentially impact trillions in government spending. Guess why they did it? And halt public programs. The freeze excludes programs like Social Security. Now, this one, you guys, and Medicare and welfare and direct individual assistance, and is set to take effect Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard. So that's already taken place. But just to be clear, guys, Social Security, Medicare, welfare, the real bread and butter emergency funds that go to help people, that is not affected. They go to all of the extra, there's a lot of bloat, a lot of welfare programs that are not like welfare, but like bonus, optional, not mandatory. I think the reason why Leticia James is heading this whole thing is because it's going to be outrageously unpopular with the American people. And Leticia James is somewhat isolated there in Manhattan. She's already very unpopular for having run this other lawsuit. So she's kind of pre-ruined. It wouldn't cost her as much as putting someone else's name on this that doesn't want to tarnish it. So she's not going to ruin her career further. It's already ruined. Her reputation's already there. So that's why I believe they picked Leticia James, because it's not because she's smart, articulate, or has a superior grasp of legal theory. What to know? In a news conference on Tuesday, Leticia James announced the impending lawsuit against the Trump administration, along with other Democratic attorneys, AGs. Why are they all Democratic? I thought attorney generals were supposed to be neutral. Quote, not only does the administration's new policy put people at risk, but it is painfully unconstitutional, James said. That was in her comment of the video that we already saw. Trump's White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, also spoke about the administration's decision to freeze federal grants during a press briefing on Tuesday, saying, quote, there is not a blanket pause on federal assistance and grant programs from the Trump administration. Not a blanket pause, not a blanket pause. Quote, the individual assistance that includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, we're still giving those out, good. Welfare benefits, good. Assistance that is going to directly to individuals will not be impacted by the pause. Leave it till the press. So it could be like all these NGOs, fake Catholic charities that are trying to smuggle illegals, all that. Quote, I want to make it very clear to any Americans who are watching at home, Leavitt said. By the way, did Leticia James watch at home at all? Because this is made very clear. It means no more funding for illegal DEI programs. And that's the rub. That's why Leticia James is freaking out. No illegal DEI programs. It means no more funding for the Green New scam, the Green New Deal. It means no more funding for transgenderism and wokeness across our federal bureaucracy and agencies. No more funding for Green New Deal social engineering policies. There. I think that's a very good clarification, and it's very fair. Democratic Senator John Fetterman weighed in on X. I'm closely monitoring the repercussions in PA as a result of the federal funding pause. My office just received calls from over a dozen Pennsylvania organizations, see, not individuals, organizations, including one that serves both red and blue, low-income families, and their access to funds through The federal payment management system has been cut off. We're also aware of reports of PA's Medicaid portal being down. By the way, that has nothing to do with this. That was purely an accident. The Medicaid payments are still going through, but the portal went down. These services, including Medicaid, are critical to our most value. I'm calling on POTUS president to immediately restore access. Again, the Medicaid stuff was not shut down. The Trump administration's action to suspend all federal grants and loans will have a devastating impact. This is Bernie Sanders, communist, on health and well-being of millions of children, not the ones that get it directly funded to them. Seniors on fixed incomes and most vulnerable people in our country. It is a dangerous move towards authority. No, it's not. Charlie Kirk of Turning Point USA says Caroline Leavitt explodes the ridiculous fear-mongering in the media about Trump's pause on federal grants to various agencies and institutions. Social Security is not affected. Medicare, not affected. Food stamps, pensions, and the rest are not affected. There's only uncertainty in this room amongst the media. Leavitt said, the White House is aware of the portal on the Medicaid website is down, adding, we have confirmed no payments have been affected. They are still being processed and sent. We expect the portal will be back online shortly. Someone tell John Fetterman that at least that part of it he doesn't have to worry about. So again, this is going to be a big to-do. I think Leticia James is a joke. I think this lawsuit's going to be a joke, but wherever it lands, you know we'll be reporting on it, and that's why you don't want to miss an episode. You should subscribe here and ring that bell and watch another video right here to help push this channel out. I'm Doug in Exile.